know, when you're already sleep deprived doing a film festival, the last thing you need to do is watch something that's going to make sure you don't sleep. But how was that, everyone?
Yeah, it was good.
All right, why don't we bring up the filmmakers first? We got Drakulic.
Yeah.
We have Mallory Drumm and Alex Lee Williams. Give it up for everyone.
Woohoo!
And we have the producer, Eli Roth.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo! Oh wow.
Okay, first, normally I don't start with a statement, but Jesus Christ, it is fucking scary.
Thank you.
So, where did the origins of this come for all three of you?
Well, the film actually, we had pitched at our Canadian distributor Vortex a bunch of these recipe card ideas, and so it was just like 10 different movies, and none of them really hit. And so we took basically after what, like a year maybe after that.
Yeah, it's about a year.
We had another movie that had funding, and that fell through too. And so we got really frustrated that we couldn't get that next thing rolling. So we were just like, what do we have that's there that we can just like go for right now? And at the time it was called Asleep, that idea, and at the core of that idea was Phobiter. And so we were like, okay, well, what locations do we have access to now? And then we had, just kind of rolled with it from there.
Yeah, like Alex said, we were really passionate about this idea that we had come up with, and we had started our careers pitching this found footage film, and we wanted to go back to our roots with that, so to speak, and we felt that this film, this kind of intimate relationship portrait was perfect for found footage and this kind of sleep, disorder, this parasomnia, because at the core of the whole thing, right, it's this trauma that Alex is born with, from the moment he's conceived, essentially, right into the traumas of his upbringing. And so when we were kind of looking at Dream Eater as the, who we called the Eater of Dreams, who we kind of looked at as this kind of perfect monster for that story and for this found footage, like we really wanted to show those intimate moments that you're not supposed to see in a relationship, kind of in between the things that other people aren't going to see, those really intimate moments. So yeah, it all just kind of felt like peanut butter and chocolate, putting the whole thing together, and it was, very happy with how it came out and how we kind of adapted that idea into something pretty raw.
Like lamb and tuna fish.
Even better, yeah.
Now, when you guys set up to make this, how did you divide up, you guys are all appearing in the movie as well as directing. How did you divide up the workload when it came to thinking out through how you're doing sequences? Obviously it's found footage, so you have a lot more leeway in how you move the camera, but there's definitely things that you're staging specifically. You gotta get your jump scares, and you gotta frame stuff. How do you guys work as a team doing that?
Yeah, I mean, when we say that we're both all writers, directors, and producers, it's because we really work as one unit. I'd say we each kind of have a little bit of a skill set above the rest kind of thing, or we have our strengths that we all play to. I do a lot more of the producing side. Jay kind of starts with the writing. Alex just thinks in visuals, and so we kind of leaned on those strengths, but we really all did the roles together. And so we had gone to do a site visit of the location and then basically built the geography of the script around that. And when we wrote it, we are also the editors of the film. So when we wrote it knowing how we wanted to shoot it, because we knew how we wanted to edit it to look on camera. So it was really just a group effort, and we lovingly call ourselves the tripod, because it's just we all work in unison that way.
Yeah, and the editor, their name is Vigo Vasquez, and the reason we used the pseudonym is because we were we can't just have our name in every role, so we came up with that. And it's based on two of our favorite characters, so if anyone can figure it out, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, Alex and Mallory make me a better creator in that way. So it's so intrinsic. We're able to kind of feed off each other and really read each other's minds as we're working. And so again, we talk about this a lot, but really being a trio, it not only makes it so much more fun, but you've got these people who you trust, who have your back, and you know, it just, yeah, it kind of effortlessly turns into a good division of labor, like Mallory was saying. And at the end of it, it's just like, it's so much more fun doing it with the people you love most in the world, you know? So, yeah, it just really works for us.
And also, all three of us have vastly different tastes.
Yeah,
So
1000%.
when we put one idea through all three of us, it typically becomes something that is just so much better because of that. Not like it's trying to play to everyone, but because we all trust each other's tastes as well, it becomes something that all of us find to be a lot more interesting than if it was just one of us.
Yeah, like we filter through each other in that way, right? Yeah, it's cool. It's a very cool Venn diagram of all of our tastes, all of our influences kind of put into one. And yeah, I think it works.
Now, Eli, you said you discovered this through a TikTok of some sort. When you're looking at stuff in the horror section, what is it that you're drawn to for the curation sense? Because this is vastly different from Jimmy and Stig's, and I'm sure what other stuff you have coming down the line.
I mean, to me, it just has to be undeniable. It has to be so original and cool that you just go, I can't believe some crazy made this movie, you know, like, and you watch this and, you know, I'm watching it, and when they start to get to the snow, you're like, oh shit. And when they're in the basement and he's naked, and they're doing that stuff, when you see the footsteps, the sense of dread, the sense of fear. I mean, I watch so many movies, as we all do, and there's always like a point where you sort of let down and you just kind of excuse the film. You go, well, that didn't work. I wish they'd done that better. But this just kept going and building, especially the last 15 minutes of this movie are so fucking scary. I watched this and I thought, this is the scariest movie of 2025. Like, I haven't seen anything that has scared me as intensely as this movie. And these guys pulled it off. I'm gonna say it, they pulled it off for less than $50,000, the entire movie. All of it. If you were out of maybe. I mean, that's like $12 American. So,
Almost.
but it's a beautiful film. The sound is incredible. The score is magnificent. You can tell that they didn't make any excuses. And they didn't go, well, we couldn't get the location we wanted. We did that. Like, they just did it. And they were working and shooting industrials to pay for it while they were shooting it. I mean, they put their, I'd say sweat, but you can see how cold they were when they made this movie. And that's the kind of thing where I have such admiration, because I remember putting myself through that with Cabin Fever with a lot more money, but you know, it's still that same level of, you know, stress and intensity where you're just trying to make it work and pull off the scare. And that's where I thought they're so deserving. This movie deserves to be in the theater. And I would ask anyone here, this is a discovery kind of film. This is the movie that you come out of and you're like, that was so scary, the way I felt with Paranormal Activity. So it's on everyone in this room. You guys have hold the power of this movie in your hands. This will be the first impression of the film. This is the first time the finished version of the movie that we've all seen it actually in a theater with an audience. So the first impression of what this movie is entirely determined by everybody right here. So please, you know, you saw what they went through to do it. If you get out and, you know, any post on whatever, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, like wherever you post, that letterbox, it's gonna make a huge difference in their careers. I think they really deserve it. So what I'm looking for is stuff that stops me in my tracks and I go, wow, I can't believe someone did that. That's amazing. I wanna help them get it out there into a movie theater.
Now, Alex and Mallory, since you guys are primarily the only ones really on camera for most of the film, there's obviously some other like people that pop up in there. You guys did. I think Eli mentioned that you guys didn't want to cast anyone you felt like you guys had to do yourself because you didn't think anyone else would do it, because you guys give very brave performances, and like, you know, was there any way, like, were you all pushing each other to be like as fearless and like, I'm gonna be fully naked in below the basement of a like house kind of thing?
Yeah, I remember we had this conversation at Alex's kitchen table, because we initially had other actors assigned to the roles. But then once we decided that we were gonna self-fund it and we were gonna do it in the middle of winter, Alex and I kind of looked at each other and we were like, you know what, I think we're gonna probably do what other actors aren't gonna do and that we can't afford them to do. So once we decided that, Alex and I were like, yo, let's go for broke. And it was just like, okay, I'll show my tits on camera. And he's like, all right, I'll show my tips on camera. And it kind of just like snowballed from there. And then, you know, when we were doing research on insomnia and like sleep paralysis, and we were looking at parasomnia, one of the things that's super dangerous is the situations that people get themselves into. Like they start eating things that aren't meant to be eaten, and then they start to find themselves in dangerous situations, like out in the cold. So all of that came from like actual things that people experience, and then we just wanted to ramp it up by 100. But yeah, both Alex and I were just kind of like, we're gonna end this together. Alex is one of my best friends, and so it was just easy to use him as like, you know, encouragement for that. And honestly, like, not an actress by trade whatsoever, but getting to play alongside him, I think just made me a better actor, and I think just like really ended up showing well on camera.
Yeah, and like, as Mallory mentioned, we had intended to have other actors. We have a few friends that we just, like, a few friends that are actors that are just immensely talented. And in the script, originally, there was no nudity. It was much more tame. And even when we had one of our actor friends read it, they were like, oh, you got a lot of stunts in there. And we were like, fuck, oh my God, there's no way we are gonna be able to get like an ACTRA union member to do this movie. So that was...
Fall down the stairs, stunt.
Yeah, like Mallory actually fell down the stairs with our DP to get that shot because she had to be behind him. So the whole movie is our DP shooting it, and Mallory's right behind him, like how they shoot the movie, or the show Peep Show. I don't know if anyone knows that show.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we did that same style where literally Mallory would just follow him and she would give the lines and she would do it right off the eye line of the camera so that I could actually, you know, act with her and everything. But once that one reaction came of like, oh, you got some stunts, and they were like, because I was like, you're a friend, we were hoping that you would just like look past the falling down the stairs thing. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. So then finally we're like, hey, fuck it. And we looked at each scene and we were like, imagine if he was like nude in that scene. That's like, holy shit. And then that was around the time that viral sort of thing happened on TikTok where what would a woman prefer to be trapped in the forest with a bear or a man? So that stimulated a great conversation too. We're like, yeah, this is like the worst even if it's your partner, this is the worst possible thing that she could find. And so we wanted to ramp up the movie as much as possible. And again, we were going to self-fund it and just go for broke in every aspect of the movie. So yeah, and then to Mallory's point too, like we were like, okay, it'd be cool if our names were the characters' names because we're not actors, so it'd be fucking really nice if I could just call you Mallory so I don't forget your character's name. And I think it works a lot, especially because we're best friends in scenes like when we're sitting by the fire or when I'm putting on the record, because a lot of those jokes were improv to be like to be with the camaraderie that we had. So that was something that we were comfortable with. It's like, okay, well, we may not be actors, but we do have a history. So as long as we drop that fear of judgment, then hopefully we can give like an authentic, scary, and heartbreaking performance.
And also just want to say, as the person who got to really be behind the camera for the film, it was Alex and Mallory. What they did was it just made my job so much more easier, and it was such a pleasure to see Alex and Mallory just do the incredible performances that they did. Like, you know, some of those runners that are like 4.5 minutes long, you know, sitting there behind the camera, it was like I was in awe of these two people who I know are so talented, but seeing them bring these characters to life that, you know, for us, you know, personally were so real, and we really cared about the characters in Dream Eater. Wanted to put them through hell, obviously, but we really just, it was really a labor of love as much as it was horror. And so again, I just gotta say, like, just shout out to them for what they put on the screen there, because it was, yeah, I'm eternally grateful for those incredible performances.
It weirdly, I found it sort of make me drop my guard a little bit, where I was like, okay, they're the directors, they're acting in it, they're doing it, they're blah, 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 they're having fun, it's friends, it's like me, what I'm in. And then it starts to turn, and then you see him at night, and you're just like, oh my God, like your ability to become another person is unbelievable. Like, Alex, like, I mean, I'm not saying anything away from Mallory's performance, but the way you switch and the way you become possessed, it's so real and so terrifying, and your reactions are so real that by the time, and you know, when you see the footsteps in the snow and the things turn, you're just like, oh, fuck, and you're in, the shed. There's so many great moments. You know, you ducking down and he's there, you know, behind you on the couch. But like eating the cake and when the thing creaked open, you throw the keys, like the physicality,
Yeah,
the fear, you just like, it feels like you're watching two real people go through it. Like you completely, I think that the fact that you guys hadn't acted or didn't cast actors, that you felt just like and the intimacy of your friendship and the stuff you're talking about and the jokes you make, it doesn't feel like actors. It's really, really incredible. It's terrifying.
I was going to ask you, Alex, and I could be wrong here, but did I see a Black Christmas tattoo on your arm?
No.
Of course not.
Copyright issues, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
But the reason I'm bringing it up because like so many performances reminded me of Black Christmas and the unseen killer and no one's it. Now Canada, one of the hotbeds, one of the great places of horror, exploitation films, and all that. Could you talk a little bit about your influences on not only Dream Eater but in making films in general?
So we did a Reddit AMA earlier today, and there was a bunch of questions about like your influences for the movie, influences for your career, and Black Christmas was in every one of my answers for that. It's like absolutely so much of the audio, especially the scenes of like Fogler in the dark and everything, is inspired from the spirit of Billy from Black Christmas. Like that is very much that movie. Me up. My mom showed it to me. She was just sick of watching kids movies with me, so she was like, "That's just why I love this movie. Let's watch it." And then her and my dad got divorced. It was a whole thing. So the fact that we were able to translate it into the movie in that way was so huge. Black Christmas is my #1 horror film of all time.
Yeah, like Black Christmas for sure. Like there's a lot of horror, Easter egg references in the film. Black Christmas is probably the most referenced. Like Stop Me by Filthy Billy Meyer. Stop Me was the original title of the screenplay for Black Christmas before it was changed by Bob Clark. The song that Filthy Billy sings, so Filthy Billy, also for Black Christmas. Little Baby Bunting, Daddy's Gone Hunting, which also entered the public domain the year we shot that movie, which was amazing. Like when we got our clearance report, we were like, awesome, we don't have to change those lyrics. But yeah, and then like just the whole idea of like, the incredible POV of Alex when we have that perspective switch, which was hugely inspired by Last Exorcism during that incredible scene when she beats the cat to death with the camera, which is amazing. So yeah, Black Christmas was huge, for me personally too, like, obviously like Shining, The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, but movies like Curse of the Werewolf, which kind of dealt with like the trauma of like, a character's conception that allows this evil to creep in from before they're born that they kind of bring with them. And then, movies like, again, Bob Clark's like Death Dream, aka Dead of Night, where now like the literal horrors of your life turn you into a monster. Because this movie really was about like that, Fogler is that abuser, he's that monster that's bigger on the inside than he is on the outside, how he can appear to the people that love him the most as this really terrifying, entity, whereas otherwise he's pretty charismatic, funny, nice, just like an abuser would be. But yeah, those were some of the biggest, I think, influences for me kind of going into it.
Yeah, and I would just echo the exact same from these guys, and I think too, like, being a Canadian, our winters are very bleak, and I think we really wanted to use that as like atmosphere and a setting in this film. And it kind of just became like its own character too, and just the amount of isolation that it adds to the film as well, like in being in this cabin, being in 14 feet of snow, and just like having that all a part of it was, I think, a nice little nod to like our Canadian roots as well.
Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, no, I love, My Bloody Valentine and like bleak, freezing cold Canadian horror movies. They just make me so happy. And I just worked with Lynn Griffin from Black Christmas in Ice Cream Man, and I put her as the grandmother in Thanksgiving because I love that movie. I just wanted to get stories about shooting Black Christmas from her. So yeah, I love the feel. I mean, it's been a while since I saw like a really good, terrifying, like Black Christmas style freezing. It's like a great tradition of horror that I love.
Now, I want to ask, where did the Unsolved Mysteries parody come from? Because I love shit like that when it popped up, so let's talk a little bit about that, because that was a really, because I love that kind of stuff. Like, I also think it's a great way to move the narrative in a way, because found footage sometimes gets stuck in certain things. So could you talk a little bit of that, and also talk about like working within tropes of like found footage?
We're all massive fans of unsolved mysteries. And exactly what you said, you know, a lot of the times found footage films, you kind of could get stuck into people researching things and you just see them typing on Google, or you're rewatching the footage from the day before. And so we wanted to do something that moved the narrative that was a little bit, that was different, and all being massive fans of unsolved mysteries, we were like, what if we did an unresolved mystery sort of thing? And then we had a lot of fun, even with our composer coming up with the theme song for it, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that breaks the flow a little bit, like, especially when you're dealing with such heavy subject matter. One of the things that we kept just revisiting when we were tooling the script was, we gotta give moments of like levity, just like some breaks, things that can allow the audience to breathe a little bit. And then when the Unsolved Mysteries segment, like the idea came out, we all got super stoked about it, and we wanted to make sure that it was in that like 90s style, like the cheesier ones. And what's that, Jonathan?
Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Yeah, so, and we watched a shitload of those highlights of him just going like, not true, fact, that was a lie. And we wanted, and like Jay must have, because Jay was the voice of Unresolved Mysteries, and he must have done like 40 takes. And he was like, is this one too goofy? Is this like, it's like, no, we just gotta hit that perfect little medium between like laughable and serious, because that's how so many of them play now, even like Forensic Files and all those. We love all that shit.
Yeah, like that mix of like Keith Morrison and Robert Stack.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Like there's I'm talking about serious shit, but you're like, that's really funny, Keith. Like so, and also when we sent the clearance report in, as it was called Unresolved Mysteries, we're like, they're totally gonna shut that down.
Never thought that.
They were like, that sounds good. And then even when Rachel Kemp, I think it doesn't get any better than this. The great found footage movie. Her first words, she came out of a screening seeing it, she just went, Unresolved Mysteries. I was like, that is the best compliment ever.
Yeah, like honestly, like we knew that we were dealing with, you know, the four walls of the cabin, the property, and then, you know, the smaller secondary location of the shed. So really what we were trying to do, especially from the scripting phase, was like, how do we open this movie up to just be bigger than it is and seem bigger than it is? And, you know, bringing in the Skype calls and FaceTime calls were obviously really large. And then like, you know, Foger itself, kind of this cosmic horror. But then, yeah, Unresolved Mysteries was one of those things where we were like, cool, we can just like kind of, like Alex was saying, like kind of break up the pacing a little bit, introduce something new, have a little fun with it, and also be like very self-referential to what our interests are, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was one, it was funny because we were like, is this one gonna like, man, like is this something we should be exploring into it? And I'm just so glad we did, because personally watching it back, I'm just always happy when that moment comes, because like Alex said, like there's pretty heavy shit in this, you know, so it's like, it's nice to have that. Although it's a heavy piece as well, like what happens to Captain Thorne is pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I think the jokes that come in there are like when you say, "Oh, and happy birthday" was the biggest laugh of the night.
So glad that the jokes landed when they did.
So I'm getting the signal that we need to wrap. So I'm gonna ask Eli this, but I want you guys to answer too. Like, as you're curating and looking for not only continue making horror films, but you're also looking for the future horror. What are you looking for? You know, what are you hoping to find for future horror filmmakers? Not only for things you're going to curate and like, release through the horror section, but just in general. What are you hoping to see out there?
I always look for that authenticity, and I know it sounds cheesy, but you can tell when someone is a true horror fan. Like with Jimmy and Stiggs, you can tell that Joe lives it and breathes it. When I watch the film, you know, with Jay, Alex, and Mallory, they live it and they breathe it. And I judge a movie by did they pull off what they were aiming to achieve. You know, and when I saw Jimmy and Stiggs, I'm like, you pulled it off. And when I saw like, did they pull it off? They absolutely did. So budget not being a limitation, like that, if it's original and authentic and they go for it and they did it in a way that I've never seen before, that's like, you know, you just gotta like tip your hat to them. And those are the movies that I want to get out and support.
So what about you guys? What do you feel like is going to be future horror? Obviously, you got this movie coming out. It's going to have a nice theatrical run. Where do you see yourselves going from here?
I think continuing to scare audiences. Like, we're horror fans and horror filmmakers through and through, and I think we just want to be able to continue to do that.
Yeah, I think it's just, you take, especially as a filmmaker, you just have so many lessons that you learn along the way. And I get really, really excited, and I'm, as these two, I'm incredibly impatient. So I'm like, let's do the next, like, let's get awesome. I'm like, yeah, tomorrow? Like, I think we could shoot something tomorrow. So it's taking those lessons and applying it to that next thing to just be as scary as humanly possible.
Yeah, like honestly, to echo, Alex and Mallory on that, like just want to keep scaring audiences, and also like making horror movies that for us are really like about something that we can kind of like relate to what people go through, and like something that aren't the scares for the scare's sakes, but are really we like to filter the horror through characters as much as possible to really just make it something that's as impactful and relatable as well for the audience in that way. So yeah, I just get bigger, better, scarier, and just tell some more bleak stories like that.
And
All right. Oh, go ahead.
just the last thing before we wrap up, just the entire horror section team that's here, just thank you guys so much. Chuck is here, your movie guy. Without you, man, we wouldn't be here.
Woo!
Thank you for believing in the film. And sitting directly behind Chuck is Sean. At the time, he was a 16-year-old that we totally exploited to help us make this film. He was an absolute, now he's got a career in film. He's an absolutely incredible guy. The team from Vortex, from
Justin from Vortex, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys, Justin, Jesse. You guys believed in us. So
And you guys.
most important,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. Woo!
Great job.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And make sure, if you're doing your letterbox reviews, make sure you pass it out there, tweet it back, because that's how we're going to